Taking a look at the markets picture, it seems that nothing is able to hold the markets back for very long.
Absolutely. Players looking to get involved and looking for higher markets. Yesterday with the news of a possible further quake in Japan brought a lot of fears back into the market, but it was a lot smaller than initially anticipated. So I think the world is just sighing a sigh of relief at the moment and then getting involved and getting back. So I think, just a better place for everybody at the moment.
Is it a case of markets showing resilience or investors having nowhere else to go? What's actually the driving force here?
I think, Alishia, it's been a bull market since the end of last year. I think the first quarter of this year was very trying for a lot of players. And, when we expect the market to go up, it came down and vice versa. And I think, what a lot of players are looking to do is drive the market forward. We saw that the ECB raised rates yesterday. So, there's an alternative to just the US economy or to gold or to those kind of commodities for investment and higher yield. So our markets are really benefiting from that, as well as the European markets. So I think it's just players just wanting to bid this market higher. It's actually self-fulfilling also at the moment.
Having said that, we've been looking at investors for a long while now, looking for alternatives to the US. As I was mentioning earlier, we've started to see positive data filtering through, and that seems to be encouraging on the US front as well.
Yes, it is. It is really encouraging. But, as you mentioned earlier, there are other alternatives. I think gold was the only alternative for a long time. And that's why we saw quite an increase in the gold price for majority of last year. But now, as I mentioned earlier, with the European Union the European Central Bank raising rates, I think a lot more focus is going to be on Europe. Now, Portugal has also asked for assistance. So they're hoping that things will be better there. Spain's bond auction also went a lot better than expected. So I think there is some optimism back into the market. A cautious eye still remains on Libya, Northern Africa region, as well as the Middle East, to see what happens there. And of course, the world is still dealing with things such as natural disasters, which are not foreseeable. So I think a cautious eye is still out there, but players really getting involved and looking for an uptake.
You touched on that higher gold price. It certainly spelt some good fortune for our gold players that have been pretty unloved over the recent past. We've got at the moment Anglo Gold trading 1.5% to the good, Goldfields up 0.6%, and Harmony 0.25% higher as well. How are you viewing that gold mining complex?
Yeah, I think, what we really need to look at from a South African perspective is the rand price of gold. And that has come off from its March highs or end of February, mid-March highs. And, which just goes to show that the relative strength of the rand will not benefit the gold miners in South Africa that much. However, having said that, you must bear in mind that it's still at very, very high level. I think it's about 9,763 rands versus the previous March highs of about above 10,000 rands. So, the rand is actually not working towards their benefit. But having said that, it's still at very high levels.
Let's get specific here. Looking at Goldfields, it was out with a production report saying that it expects gold production for the March quarter to be 5% higher. Market reaction to that news, how are you reading that, which is filtered through?
Yeah, no, I think that, there wasn't much. It was, in line with guidance, previous guidance. And, apparently the last quarter, the last bit of 2010, which was the Christmas period where they closed down for 2 weeks, affected the quarter production, the first quarter production, which then also, I think the South African market brought down the global performance for Goldfields in that quarter. But mind you, as you mentioned, it was 5% higher than last year. So it's a very, very good indication, still in line with their production forecast for 2011, which is about 3.5 to 3.7 million ounces. So it's still looking good there.
Let's take a look at some of those more attuned to that rising oil price. Sasol, for one, trading 0.6% higher at this stage. BHP Billiton at the top of the top 40 this afternoon, just over a 2% gain, filtering through there. How are you viewing those two? Because when it comes to Sasol, you're looking more so at a player that's more exposed directly to that oil price. BHP with a slight component exposed to that rising oil price.
I think we have to really examine why the oil price has risen so much. We have to take into account that should Nigeria, finally have their elections, because that's one thing that's adding to it, that they have been postponing their elections. Should the Libya crisis also end, should the Middle East tension, or unrest subside, then you don't want to be finding yourself with all your eggs in one basket, like holding Sasol, for instance. But I think it would be great for a short-term play while the unrest persists and buoys the oil price. But then on the other hand, a diversified company such as Billiton makes better sense, so that you're benefiting not only from rising oil prices, but from rising commodity prices. So that for me it serves as a better play in terms of if you're looking at both of them. And I think that going forward, you must also remember that America, which is the biggest consumer of oil, is going into their summer months, and such oil prices for an economy that's still struggling a little bit may not bode well for the demand side of oil.
Yeah. Let's turn our focus to MTN. Of course, this is a company that we thought would come under pressure with all the tensions we've seen emerge in the Middle East and North Africa. It had, through that period, proven to be pretty resilient, but now coming under some pressure on a pretty good day on the markets, down close enough to 1% so far.
Yeah, I think this week was not a very good week for MTN. I mean, there were some rumors about Idea Cellular and them buying a stake there. Still not necessarily clear as to what is going on there. Also, Ntombenhle finally let go of all reins there at MTN. So I think maybe some market players were thinking that, with him gone, perhaps MTN strategy would actually change going forward. But then now there's speculation that they are maybe looking to buy into India again. And we all know how that worked out the last time. So maybe just taking a little bit of pressure there. It has had a good run since the beginning of the year, so not to take it away. It's still at very good highs, but on a technical level, and then speaking technically, it is at all-time highs. I mean, if you look at the trend line since, not all-time highs, I beg your pardon, but at good highs, if you're looking at the trend line since December 2010, you will see that MTN is actually sitting at a major resistance level. So, anything could happen at this point. So from a technical perspective, it is struggling, and also maybe from a strategy perspective, players in the market are not sure as to what MTN is trying to do. But also news out that a South Sudanese company, Vivacell, would actually be coming in, trying to increase subscribers in some of the areas that MTN operates in. So that also may be coming into the players' minds, although that's a longer term strategy. But I think I'm still well bid on MTN. I still like the stock.